Hi, first graders! You've worked very hard in kindergarten and now you're ready for first grade. But what does being ready for first grade mean? Maybe it means having a new set of pencil crayons. Or maybe it means being able to count all the way to 100. Today, we're going to explore what being ready for first grade means to you and how you can become the best first grader you can be. Sometimes, when explorers want to learn something about the present, they look way back in history. Today, we'll look at some history in Canada. Before you and your classmates were ever in Canada, it was home to the Indigenous people. Who are the Indigenous people? Well, Canada is home to three distinct groups: the First Nations, the Metis, and the Inuit people. But within these groups are even more different kinds of groups. The Indigenous people aren't just from the past. In fact, 1.67 million people in Canada identify as Indigenous today. So, why do we need to look at their history? Well, Indigenous people in Canada become the best versions of themselves by learning through passed down knowledge. It's like if your grandparent taught your mom or dad how to tie their shoes, and then your mom or dad taught you how to tie your shoes. The knowledge of tying shoes would be considered passed down knowledge. Indigenous people have been living by this way of teaching for a very long time, which makes their passed down knowledge very rich and wise. Indigenous people have existed in Canada for a long time. So, why is it so important to talk about them? Well, they have been mistreated and unrecognized by Canada for quite some time. They also have a history of colonization. Right now, they are taking back their culture, and learning about ways of knowing is a great way that you can help Indigenous people in Canada promote their culture. So, let's explore some Indigenous ways of knowing and being, and discuss how they can help you be ready for first grade.
Hi everyone. The first idea that we're going to be looking at today is your relationship with you. In other words, we're going to explore the relationship with the self. Learning about the relationship with yourself is important because it connects different tools that help you understand yourself as a whole. Ways of knowing view the relationship with the self as being mindful and self-aware. Indigenous awareness means to be aware of yourself. This means embracing the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of yourself. It might mean being in touch with your thoughts, emotions, and feelings. These all come together to build a better understanding of you. As we move on from awareness, we will take a look at mindfulness. Mindfulness can mean living in the now, also being able to be awake and to live in the moment. As you practice mindfulness, you will learn to get comfortable with yourself and your environment. Mindfulness practices are a great way to relax the body and the mind. Think about right now. You can feel yourself sitting in the chair or on the ground. You can feel the way the air is going in and out of your lungs. This is what being mindful feels like. Now that we know what mindfulness is, let's try a breathing activity. Box breathing is an activity where you breathe deeply to relax and calm your mind. Now let's try it. Everybody ready? Okay, now take a deep breath and breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can let it all out. One more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can breathe out. Thanks for joining me in practicing mindfulness. Moving on. Indigenous ways of knowing and mindfulness are practiced through cultural traditions and passed down through knowledge. These practices include teachings of stories and practices that help them understand their culture and themselves. As we come to a close in learning about the relationship with the self, we know that we cannot totally understand ourselves until also learning about the relationship with others. These ideas come together to build a medicine wheel, which involves connecting physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of life, but we'll come back to that later.
Now that you know about the relationship with yourself, it's very important to know about the relationships you have with other people. Your friends, family, and community are all kinds of relationships. First Nations, Metis, and Inuit people believe in the idea of interconnectedness. Interconnectedness means that everything in the whole world is connected. You, your friends, your family, your community, and all of the plants and animals are all connected. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people each have different ideas of what interconnectedness is and how it can actually make us better learners. First Nations people have this tree, and it shows us that all these interconnected things help us with learning. We can see that the rain waters and supports the whole tree so it can grow. For First Nations, the rain represents all of the people that can help with learning, just like teachers, parents, and elders do. All of these people help your learning grow. Metis also have a tree that represents the actual person learning. In the middle of this tree, there are learning rings. These rings explain that there is interconnectedness between relationships. Metis people learn from the community, from family, and from other relationships just like you do. Inuit have this circle that represents the journey of lifelong learning. The circle is actually a learning blanket. The learning blanket has all these people around it that represents family, community members, and ancestors that show how knowledge is passed on from generation to generation, making sure everyone can learn together. Now that you have learned about these 3 learning models from these 3 Indigenous groups, you can apply them to your learning in the classroom or at home and learn by being connected with each other. Let's look into these circles a little more because there's actually a lot more to circles for Indigenous peoples than you think. Circles let us all be equal to each other, and being in a circle is about putting your minds together as one. When we all sit in a circle, there is no judging, no shaming, and only support and kindness. Something important to Indigenous culture that is in the shape of a circle is the medicine wheel, and it looks like this. Medicine wheels are a large ceremonial activity done with the community, family, friends, and elders to teach important things. Now, some of you might be thinking, this wheel looks a little empty. It's important to know, though, that not every culture has the same medicine wheel, which is why this one's empty. First Nations, Metis, and Inuit peoples each have their own unique medicine wheels with different meanings, different colors, and they sometimes might not use a medicine wheel at all. Medicine wheels can even be made outside using natural things like stones. Now let's color in our wheel a little bit. Let's put the colors white, yellow, red, and black. The body can be in the north, and it is about caring for our bodies and remembering that rest is important. The spirit can be in the east, and it is about being grateful for your life and everyone you know. The mind can be in the south, and it is about trusting and believing in yourself. The heart can be in the west, and it is about appreciating and loving our lives and others. Now, let's all draw in our own medicine wheels together. Now that you have all drawn things inside your medicine wheel and shared with your friends, it's time to move on to the next thing. But remember that you can keep this medicine wheel with you for the rest of your first grade year, and you get to take it home with you and try doing this activity with your family too.
After learning about the medicine wheel, it's time to get in touch with nature. Let's start a topic by asking, what is your favorite food? Maybe your favorite food is pizza. And just like everyone else, when you want some pizza, you go to a supermarket. There you will not only find pizza, but almost everything else you can imagine. Supermarkets make life so much easier. So, if they don't exist, how can we get the stuff we need? Before the market existed, if we wanted anything, we would have to hunt or scavenge it in nature. Many years before and even now, Indigenous Canadians are still doing this practice. If they want salmon, they will catch it right from the river. If they want strawberries, they will find them and pick them right out of the wild bushes. By doing these practices, Indigenous people start to form a special spiritual bond with nature. They take a responsibility to keep it safe and happy with lots of love and care, like how you treat your best friend. When they go hunting, harvesting, or take anything from the land, they make sure nothing goes to waste. Indigenous people plant seeds to grow veggies, feed and look after the animals, to replace and give back the resources they have taken from the land. Just like superheroes, they protect and take care of the land, and the land gives them everything they need in return, forming the best friendship ever. Now you have learned about the special bond between Indigenous people and nature, it's time for you to think about how you can be friends with nature. You can clean after yourself to not leave garbage behind, keeping the world clean and beautiful. You can be nice and treat animals and plants like friends. They provide us food and so much more. After doing all that, you're now friends with nature. Now, let's take a little break and do a fun activity by making shadow animals using your hands and think about how these animals help with our world.
Now that you've learned how Indigenous ways of knowing can help you be ready for first grade, what's next? Well, now it's time to put these tools to use. The next time you're struggling in first grade, try some of these tools to help both yourself and your friends.